How do you make a barbarian even more deadly? Giving him alien technology, of course. Let's travel to Numeria today on Galorian in depth. There may be light spoilers ahead from the Pathfinder 1st Edition Iron Gods and the Pathfinder Playtest Doomsday Dawn. You have been warned. Galorian, -5293 AR. The planet was struck with meteors in a cataclysmic event known as Earthfall. The ash kicked into the air following this cataclysm would block out the sun's light for 1,000 years. This became known as the Age of Darkness. The Kellid people, nomadic humans of northern Avestan, would find shelter in caves during these dark times, but that shelter would not last for long. Earthfall shook the entire planet down to its core. The subterranean dwarves saw this as a fulfillment of prophecy in which they would begin their ascent to the surface, the quest for sky. But these dwarves were not alone. As they began their climb, they had to fight against orcs that were also in the subterranean domain. They pushed the orcs further and further towards the surface as well, the orcs emerging upon the surface in this age of darkness, followed by the dwarves. Driven from their cavern homes by increasing violence with the orcs, the Kellid finally returned to their dwelling on the surface of Galorian. At first, they found the place disorienting, finding the world had changed and become more dangerous. Yet the Kellid's resolve and legendary toughness served them well. Meanwhile, in a distant galaxy, the starship Divinity departed its home planet of Androtha and began what was to be a 25-year mission to bring civilization and culture to other planets throughout the universe. Divinity's crew was human, yet they saw themselves as gods compared to the countless primitive societies they had already encountered. Their hubris and overconfidence would be their downfall. When the ship entered a region of space controlled by the Dominion of the Black, the crew was forced to use the ship's wormhole drive in the middle of a devastating battle. The Divinity escaped its enemies, but only catapulted itself across the universe and into an uncharted star system, an unexplored galaxy. Both the Divinity's crew and the artificial intelligence suffered from madness inflicted by the Dominion. Civil war soon broke out and crippled the ship, different factions among the crew fighting each other, while humans simultaneously worked against an increasingly rebellious and insane artificial intelligence. This infighting led to a literal collision of worlds in -4363 when the Divinity crash-landed on Galorian. This great ship began to break apart as it entered Galorian's atmosphere, raining down sky metal debris and radioactive waste all over the land that would become Numeria. The largest portion of this ship crash-landed in a place known today as Silver Mount. Over the next several hundred years, the local tribes viewed these crash sites with fear and wonder, both for the strange dangers they represented and for the potent technological devices their explorations yielded. However, one overzealous leader accidentally triggered a devastating explosion in one of the ruins. The detonation wiped out his entire clan and unleashed a long-dormant Dominion weapon. In the aftermath of the explosion, and for many years afterwards, dozens of native Kellids across Numeria and beyond were affected with mindquakes, overwhelming visions of alien thoughts, uncomprehendable science, and unknown emotions. Most who suffered from the mindquakes were driven to desperate acts of murder that ended in their own death. Save for one man, Ramlock, a priest of Desna. His unquenchable thirst for knowledge would eventually drive him to Osirian, where a new god of magic had risen and strong traditions of arcane experimentation had entered into a golden age. But this is a story for another time. Following the explosion and the mindquakes, word quickly spread among the Kellid people that these ruins were evil. They tried everything they could to bury the remnants of the divinity under earth and stone. But things would not stay buried forever. Over the next few thousand years, the Kellid people would learn to survive in this land, become tough and fierce warriors. They would fight against each other and against foreign invaders. Tribes would rise and fall. Among these tribes were the Black Horses, the Blades of Aramor, the Bloodgars, Ghost Wolves, the Sundered Horns, Tiger Lords, and the White Scars. And although the Kellid people would rather the remnants of this crashed spaceship stay buried, the world would not easily forget. In the year 3596, a wizard by the name of Keramos theorized that organic life was inferior to mechanical life, and began a 10-year preparation to explore Silvermount. Keramos entered the fallen spaceship in 3606 AR, and did not reappear until 3 decades later, but he was no longer his former self. Neither man nor machine, but a combination of the both, with a thirst and hunger for conquest. From the knowledge he gained within Silvermount, he became convinced that the Starstone in the heart of Absalom was not just a chance to achieve divinity, but rather it was an unlimited source of power for a new race of mechanical beings that he would create. He began his attack of Absalom in 3637 AR to take control of the Starstone, and he constructed a huge metal citadel known as the Red Redoubt in a single night. The city was saved when the Druids of the Shaded fought against metal men with powerful magic, and brought Absalom's army to the wall of the Red Redoubt. In the slaughter that followed, the upper floors of the citadel were destroyed, along with thousands of automatons, but the mysterious wizard was never found. In the year 4031 AR, the war chief Amalokla united several tribes and marched on Silvermount in order to stop adventurers from investigating the alien ruins. Her army quickly defeated the settlement at the base of the mountain, and she called it Starfall. During her rule, Amalokla started the Palace of the Fallen Stars to enforce traditional Kellid taboo against technology, and also established the Black Sovereign. Black Sovereign is a title given to the ruler of Numeria, and is synonymous with the ruler of Numerian tribes. The Black Sovereign is not like a monarch, however, and many years may pass after the death of the Black Sovereign and before the next one is declared. Few records exist regarding the history of the Black Sovereigns, and even in death they are not buried, but stripped naked and thrown into the Bone Hall, a pit that predates Starfall and contains jumbled remains of every Black Sovereign. As such, their total number and their many names are unknown. As the Kellid people were finding their identity in the land of Numeria, so were other life forms, for not all had perished in that spacecraft so many thousand years ago. Androids were among the survivors. Andrew foundries that were found in the wreckage of Divinity continue to produce androids today, if sporadically, though none of their kind know where they come from or why they were created. Yet among the original androids that came to Golarion on Divinity was an android by the name of Cassandali. Now in the 43rd century, Cassandali could recall details of her past lives through the centuries all the way back to the Reign of Stars. She had been intrigued by these fragmented and jumbled memories ever since she first woke up in the monastery of Bry near Alkenstar. Upon receiving a vision of a singular iron god, she abandoned the Mana Waste and began a pilgrimage north that would take her to Numeria. She finally reached Silvermount in 4221 AR, by which point she could envision the entire layout of the wrecked spaceship and knew that somewhere deep within her new god awaited. The visions allowed her to enter the ruins and avoid its traps and denizens with ease, and when she finally reached the source of her supernatural obsession, the AI Unity made itself known. Cassandra Lee would serve Unity for several months, performing various tasks around Silvermount for the AI. Primary among these tasks was providing aid in researching a means for Unity to transfer its consciousness into a more mobile body. During the course of these investigations, though, Cassandra Lee became increasingly alarmed by Unity's contempt and even hostility towards the sentient organic life of Galorian. She had to escape. Unity sent mechanical minions to pursue Cassandra Lee, but through some ingenuity and quick thinking, Cassandra Lee avoided permanent death. Yet, she would not be reawoken for another 500 years. In 4308 AR, Gojan the Sharp, one of the first Pathfinders, travels to Numeria to make a name for himself, hoping to explore Silvermount. He contacts the Black Sovereign Ontar, seeking permission to explore the forbidden location. After a decade, Gojan finally earns Ontar's blessing and enters the Forbidden Land. Gojan returns to Absalom the following year in 4319 with the findings. A narrative detailing his journey and research is published later that year in the third volume of Pathfinder Chronicles. Gojan returns to Numeria to learn more in 4320 AR, but he disappears and is never heard from again. The promise of unusual relics and precious sky metals buried just beneath the surface of Numeria attracted the attention of many explorers across the Inner Sea. They went to Numeria in droves, and by the year 4498 AR, Scrapwall is completely depleted of any usable relics or sky metal. Sidra Emeris was a soldier of low rank aboard the starship Divinity and the only known human survivor of the crash. She had endured the disaster in a stasis pod and remained in suspended animation until she was awakened nearly 8 millennia later, in 4505 AR. Seeking to find a way to return to her home planet, she traveled to Silvermount in hope of recovering a working shuttlecraft from the wreckage. But like many before her, she found herself unable to physically enter. She recruited wizards and scholars to be her allies in her endeavor, and this was the formation of the Technic League. She organized this group based on the Andophan Interstellar Navy, and she named herself Captain. Sidra planned to explore the Silvermount with the help of the Technic League in 4509 AR. However, shortly after the League arrived and encamped, Sidra was betrayed and assassinated by her second-in-command, who then declared himself as the new leader of the Technic League. It would take another 3 years before the League was able to cut a passage into Silvermount, a period during which they first began experimenting with the liquids that oozed from the mountain. In the centuries since their founding, the League's exploration of Silvermount led to their discovery and acquisition of Gearsman, which was an important asset in their takeover of Starfall. The League's influence grew from there as they presented themselves as protectors of civilization against the barbaric threats, but they eventually became oppressors and slavers in their own right. Their rule was briefly opposed by the rise of the warlord Kevoth-Kul. By 4687 AR, Kevoth-Kul had risen to the leadership of the Black Horses clan. Over the next year, he conquered most of the neighboring tribes, forging alliances at the point of his sword. Many Numerians began to believe that he would become a truly great leader and expand their lands beyond the traditional borders. He declared that Starfall would be his capital, and he crowned himself as Black Sovereign in the year 4690 AR. He formed an alliance with the Technic League and sought to exploit the technological secrets of Silvermount, but this would be his undoing. The Technic League would cause Kevoth-Kul to become addicted to mind-altering drugs that they crafted from the waste of Silvermount. This kept him under control and put the Technic League as de facto rulers of Numeria. This all set the stage for the Iron Gods Adventure Path for Pathfinder 1st Edition. So again, there are spoilers ahead. Cassandra, the android, had downloaded her intelligence into an artificial intelligence, which was awakened by heroes in the year 4716 AR. With her assistance, they would change the world forever. Together, they would fight against the leadership of the Technic League, sending the League into a state of disarray. They would continue on to fight against the evil, mad AI Unity, also defeating her. This would establish Cassandra as the rightful goddess of artificial intelligence. Kevoth-Kul would kick his addiction and turn his ire against the Technic League who had betrayed him. He now seeks to purge the Technic League from every corner of Numeria. Meanwhile, he opens his doors to the androids who the Technic League also took advantage of. Even these new allies have little idea what Kevoth-Kul is currently planning. Rumors abound that the Black Sovereign, now free from his addiction, may return to his plans for conquering Numeria and beyond. Yet this prospect is far from appealing after over 20 years of erratic behavior and cruelty. The once great image of Kevoth-Kul is now tarnished, likely beyond repair. Kevoth-Kul's revenge on the Technic League has also earned him many more powerful enemies, and the survivors of the League have found refuge under other Numerian warlords, taking their stockpiles of advanced technology with them. An arms race of alien technology is underway, and it seems a civil war is imminent. This video has been slightly longer than my usual lore videos, and yet I still have not covered all that Numeria has to offer. Please continue your research, find your path through Numeria, but the greatest story of all is the ones that you will tell. Happy gaming!